European Parliament ratifies EVFTA and EVIPA. Support measures for the development of the FinTech ecosystem in Vietnam discussed. Hello and welcome to this edition of BizLine brought to you by VTV International. You're with me, Phát, and as usual, we'll begin our program today by reviewing the economic highlights over the past week. The European Parliament, or EP, on Wednesday voted in favor of the Free Trade Agreement with Vietnam, or EVFTA, which will eliminate almost all tariffs over the next 10 years. 401 European Union lawmakers voted in favor of the agreement, 192 votes against, and 40 abstentions. Following EU internal procedures, the EVFTA needs to be ratified by the EP and then approved by the European Council in order to take effect. As for the EVIPA, this agreement must be ratified by both the EP and the parliaments of all 27 EU member states. According to research by the Ministry of Planning and Investment, the EVFTA and EVIPA are expected to increase Vietnam's GDP by 5% and exports to the EU by 42.7% by 2025. Speaking at a meeting between the government and leaders of ministries and agencies on solutions to overcome the effects of the COVID-19 disease on Vietnam's economy, Prime Minister Winston Fook suggested that at this time, it is necessary to simultaneously fight against both the nCoV virus and another virus, that is stagnation, so that the whole country can unite and overcome the current challenges and difficulties. Several industries such as agriculture, tourism, and aviation will be strongly impacted by the disease. As a result, achieving the 6.8% growth target for the whole year will require ministries and agencies related to economic management and key provinces and cities to remain determined to develop. Also on Wednesday, Prime Minister Winston Fook ordered the removal of bottlenecks in export-import activities and in the trading of goods in border regions in the face of COVID-19. In the Prime Minister's dispatch, the Ministry of Health was asked to work with relevant agencies on developing regulations for medical examinations, trading of goods, and the entry and exit of vehicles and drivers in seaports, airports, border gates, and railways. The Prime Minister also agreed with a proposal by the Ministry of Industry and Trade on continuing export-import activities and the trading of goods via the 2 border gates in Lạng Sơn Province and a crossing point in Mong Cái City of Quảng Ninh Province on the principle of strictly complying with disease prevention regulations. Vietnamese consumer goods are expected to find ways to make it to the U.S. market as trade between the two countries increases. This information was shared by experts at a seminar about boosting exports to the U.S. organized by the Ho Chi Minh City Trade and Investment Promotion Center, or ITPC, on Tuesday. Despite the great export potential, experts recommend that new businesses entering the U.S. market should carefully study customer tastes, price factors, and competitive ability to choose direct or indirect exports. It is also necessary for Vietnamese businesses to be cautious and transparent with traceability information, as well as accurately classify their goods when exporting to the U.S. The State Bank of Vietnam has issued a written request for the exemption and reduction of online payment service fees. Accordingly, commercial banks and organizations that provide payment services must promptly build plans on the exemption and reduction of e-payment service fees. On Wednesday, the Vietnam National Credit Information Center also reduced the credit information service charge. According to the State Bank of Vietnam, the reduction of fees is a sign of solidarity and is how the banking industry is supporting the community, especially those affected by the ongoing COVID-19 epidemic. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City office markets offered the highest returns for investors in 2019 in Asia. This is according to the JLL's latest report on office market in Asia Pacific 2019. JLL or Jones Lang LaSalle says the emerging markets of Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, Bangkok, and Manila offered high returns via both yield compression and rent growth. In the last quarter of 2019, Ho Chi Minh City's office market witnessed a grade A and B rents soaring to a decade high, reaching $29.1 per square meter. For Hanoi, the occupancy rate continued to increase and reached 93%. JLL expects demand for office space to continue to grow strongly by 8 to 10% annually in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi over the next 10 years as the economy develops. And that is the economic reviews. Up next in our crosstalk, we'll talk about support measures for the development of the FinTech ecosystem in Vietnam. Since 2015, with the development of enterprises in the field of payment intermediary, Vietnam's fintech market has seen robust growth, attracting the attention of banks and tech firms. It is estimated that Vietnam currently has more than 150 fintech companies providing different services. However, Vietnam is still behind some Southeast Asian countries in terms of financial inclusion level, staying at only 59% compared with 86% of Thailand and 92% of Malaysia, according to Solidians. Globally, fintech ecosystems have contributed to boosting finance banking markets and enhancing customer experience. This shows the vital necessity of a complete fintech ecosystem in Vietnam. And in this week's Crosstalk, we will discuss this issue.
In recent years, fintech has developed robustly in Vietnam along with the wave of startup and policies related to the Industrial Revolution 4.0. According to Vietnam Digital Landscape report by We Are Social, Vietnam has a large and young population with more than 70 million smartphone users. Corporate income tax is low, 20%, and there are tax incentives for enterprises in the IT sector. The number of investment funds and incubators in Vietnam is high, with such big names as Vietnam Innovative Startups Accelerator, Vietnam Silicon Valley, Vina Capital. Those are some notable factors driving fintech development. However, Vietnam still has not had a complete fintech ecosystem due to the legal framework in the making. In addition, the majority of the population still prefers using cash, except for 33% of the population living in big cities. Most rural residents are not used to the concept of fintech.
And we are very honored to have to our studio today Ms. Nguyễn Thùy Dương, Chairwoman of EY Consulting Vietnam and Vice Chairwoman of Vietnam FinTech Association.
My pleasure.
So our first question, how do you think about the importance of the development of a fintech system in Vietnam?
Since the past few years, I think that there are a lot of significant improvements and changes in the eco-fintech system. And I think that so far the ecosystem of the fintech plays a very important part in improving the financial inclusion in Vietnam. Given the underbanked and unbanked population in Vietnam of about 50%, the development of the ecosystem will boost the access to the financial services as well as the adoption of technology in financial services areas. And I believe that in the future, with the support from the government, from the Central Bank of Vietnam, as well as the awareness of the population, the fintech ecosystem will be a vital part of the whole system for the financial services in Vietnam.
Let's go back to the definition a little bit. What must a complete ecosystem of fintech have?
A complete ecosystem for fintech should comprise 6 factors. Number 1 is the customers. Number 2 is fintech startups. Number 3 is the financial institutions. Number 4 is the regulator. Number 5 is potential investor. And number 6 are all educational institutions that would provide resources for the industry.
So what do you think about all of that 6 elements in Vietnam? What do we already have and what's still lacking?
We are emerging market, so I think that it is quite good to see the development of 6 components now. The 3 key pillars for any fintech system to develop is the sustained demand, the supply, as well as the regulation. So far, the 3 key elements are kept improving. However, I think if the foreign investors that has the potential interest in Vietnam will start to see the potential as well as the support from the government from the perspective of regulation, these 3 key pillars will be improved much more. And also it will have an impact on the customers from their customer experience, as well as the awareness of the financial institution in seeing fintech as their extended arms rather than competitors.
What do you think about the potential of the development of the fintech ecosystem in Vietnam?
2 years ago, the number of fintech companies is only 78 at that time, and it now come up to over 150 companies. So as I said, the potential is huge, but how to capture the potential at the right timing and also with the right appetite is more important.
Right.
It is the effort of not only one key stakeholder in the 6 stakeholders I have mentioned, but it needs to be the cooperation. I still see that the government support, the development of the regulation, as well as the financial literacy of the customers in Vietnam play important part in driving this growth. Also, I think that given that we have coronavirus now, so we don't really know that what is waiting for us ahead. But I strongly believe that this is a land of a lot of prosperity, and also the land for a lot of faster growth compared to other emerging market. It can be a good guess for any emerging market, not only Vietnam, but other neighboring countries as well.
FinTech is Vietnam's first ever fintech company to enter the top 50 emerging companies of the world's top 100 fintech companies in 2019. FinTech is a smart saving app that helps users create a saving plan from only $3. This app helps to optimize idle capital by creating investment categories, including certificates of investment funds in Vietnam, based on the risk level appetite for each client. As of October 2019, FinTech has reached 200,000 users.
Robot Advisor là thay thế những người tư vấn truyền thống và ứng dụng công nghệ Big Data vào để đưa lời tư vấn cho nhà đầu tư nhỏ lẻ để họ biết được phân bổ tiền của họ vào đâu để có được cái số tiền tối ưu hơn. Thì cái đấy là không gì là mới cả trên thế giới, nhưng với Việt Nam là rất mới.
However, FinTech is just one of the few fintech businesses that do not provide payment services in Vietnam. According to the State Bank, as of November 14, 2019, 32 companies in Vietnam have been licensed for payment intermediary services, with 29 of them having a wallet service.
A recent survey we did said that over 57% of Vietnamese who we surveyed said they would be willing to go without cash for over 3 days. So in terms of contactless, I think it's got a huge potential in Vietnam.
Trong thời gian qua thì hầu hết các công ty ở Việt Nam trong tham gia vào cái thị trường fintech này lại tập trung vào một cái mảng là mảng thanh toán điện tử. Trong khi các cái quy mô của cái thị trường tài chính về vay cho vay, về cái nhu cầu của người dân lại là rất là cao. Với cái xu hướng phát triển của thế giới thì chúng tôi đã lựa chọn cái thị trường này.
According to Topica Founder Institute, in 2018, Vietnamese fintech startups received over $117 million in total, mainly from foreign capital. Vietnamese fintech market is getting more attention from foreign investment funds.
Chỉ mới có 1-2 tháng gần đây thì các cái nhà đầu tư, các quỹ đầu tư nước ngoài về thì có gặp chúng tôi và cũng nhờ đi tìm những cái đối tác, những cái khởi nghiệp mà ở trong lĩnh vực fintech ở tất cả các cái size từ cái early stage, tức là những cái giai đoạn ban đầu cho đến những cái giai đoạn bên sau.
We look at e-wallet and the P2P lending and microfinancing or the wire remittance companies.
The development of fintech in Vietnam is an inevitable trend in the time of Industrial Revolution 4.0.
According to Solidian's consulting firm, the Vietnamese fintech market was worth $4.4 billion in 2017, and the figure is expected to reach $7.8 billion in 2020.
Apart from payment intermediary, the application of fintech in other services is still limited. What do you think about this situation?
60% of the fintech companies now focus on payment because the regulation that is covering the fintech companies really focus on payment intermediaries. However, with the revised Decree 101, I think that there will be more to look at because the government and the central bank realize that payment intermediaries is only one part of the fintech areas where there are a lot more to cover. For example, credit lending, credit scoring, data aggregation. Given that it is not black and white at the moment on some of the areas, people will find that is that the fastest way to focus on payment in order to get some low-hanging fruits? Or is that the future and long-term investment into the fintech areas in Vietnam in other more challenging areas to get the higher return? So I think that along with the development of the regulation, people will realize that at some point of time, payment will be very constrained and they won't have to look for other areas where it has more potential, but of course, it will be much more riskier.
Currently, the legal framework for the development of fintech in Vietnam, it's kind of incomplete. Do you agree with this opinion?
I think incomplete is maybe a strong word. It is on the way for further development because Vietnam is very new to this area, and over the past 2 years I have seen that the central bank has put a lot of efforts in promoting the fintech companies to develop, given that it is the program 844 from the government as well as the revision on Decree 101 or the establishment of the fintech steering committee at the central bank level. And also recently is the proposal on the regulatory sandbox framework that focus on eKYC, blockchain, etc. So I see that it is even a very new area for the regulator. But at least for this area, they pay attention and the government really want to promote those fintech companies. Key things that I have seen it has been improved significantly is number one on the remove of the foreign cap for those fintech companies. Second thing is the inclusion of mobile money definition into Decree 101. And the third thing is on a lot of other areas to clarify all the other key areas of fintech companies, but not only payment intermediaries. And the fourth thing is to make sure that in any subsequent circulars under this decree, it's going to have a very clear guidance.
To boost the development of fintech in Vietnam, we need to attract foreign investors and also technology that they may bring. So in the latest draft decree about cashless payment, the State Bank decided to abolish the 49% of limit on foreign ownership in payment intermediaries. What effects could this regulation have?
The cap never existed before. In the revised draft Decree 101, the initial cap is 30%, and after that it moved up to 49%, and now it is removed. I think that SBV really thinks hard before introducing any new regulation because it does not only impact the local players, but also it may have an impact to the foreign investors coming to Vietnam. And this sign, I think that has indicated that SBV has heard the comments and feedbacks from different key players in the market, because this is a very technical areas that we need more expertise from overseas investors to come in. The encouragement of foreign cash flow to come into Vietnam will be one of the key success factors.
In November 2019, the e-commerce platform Lazada added eMonkey e-wallet to its service for the first time. Lazada stated that the integration only aims to enhance customer experience and has no intention in developing its own e-wallet. However, according to Reuters, Lazada's parent group, Alibaba China, has acquired a large share from eMonkey Enterprise. Previously, Shopee, another major foreign investor in the Vietnamese e-commerce market, has also launched many promotion campaigns to encourage users to use its AirPay e-wallet.
Khuyến mãi mà chỉ độc quyền đối với AirPay thôi thì có những cái voucher rất là tốt. Thì chúng ta khuyến khích người tiêu dùng họ thanh toán không tiền mặt. Cái sự phát triển trong khoảng 6 tháng đổ lại đây nó thực sự rất là tốt. Tức là người tiêu dùng họ đang tiếp cận với nó và hiểu được nó và sử dụng nó nhiều hơn.
The most obvious benefit of having e-wallet for e-commerce businesses is that it encourages customers to pay in advance when ordering online, thereby reducing selling costs.
Tỷ lệ mà thanh toán bằng tiền mặt vẫn còn rất cao, thì từ đó nó xảy ra những cái rủi ro và những cái chi phí về việc luân chuyển tiền giữa người bán, người mua và trung gian. Ở nước ngoài, ví dụ như họ mua hàng là thanh toán trước hơn 90% là vậy, và mang hàng tới để ở nhà là xong, nhiều khi cũng không cần gặp chủ hàng nữa.
Moreover, businesses owning payment infrastructure will be able to harness the cash flows and users' spending data to develop business models based on those. Many major Chinese e-commerce businesses have done this, as proven by Alibaba's Alipay and Tencent's WeChat Pay. Both account for over 90% of the mobile payment market.
Cái khối lượng tiền chảy qua cái hệ thống của Alibaba là chảy qua cái hệ thống tiền tệ của Alipay, và nó trở thành một cái luồng tiền rất là đáng kể, có thể so sánh ngang hàng với những ngân hàng lớn nhất ngay cả của Trung Quốc. Do đó thì thanh toán điện tử luôn luôn là một cái mảng quan trọng mà các nhà đầu tư nhìn vào. Nó chỉ bắt đầu từ cái ví điện tử, nhưng sau đấy nó sẽ mở rộng ra là toàn bộ nền tảng về dịch vụ tài chính.
By paying more attention to core factors like payment infrastructures, businesses can compete through stable means instead of unsustainable factors such as discounts or promotions. In Vietnam, the legal framework is said to change slower than the development of the digital economy. Meanwhile, activities in Vietnam's digital economy are predicted to bring about $30 billion in 2025 and $160 billion in 2045. Experts says that there's a need for regulatory sandbox for creative business models and new technologies, meaning creating a controlled environment for startup and innovators, including FinTech firms, to conduct live experiments while waiting for proper management.
Không có cái đấy chúng ta không thể ứng xử với cái mới được, vì pháp lý của chúng ta từ trước đến giờ là pháp lý đi sau. Tôi thì tôi nghĩ là sau 3 năm đến 5 năm, nhưng mà thậm chí là nhiều hơn. Trong lúc là chúng ta đều nói rằng chúng ta làm, đúng không ạ? Nhưng mà chúng ta không có cái gì ứng xử cho mới cả thì chúng ta làm sao làm được?
According to the most ideal scenario, digital transformation can help Vietnam's GDP rise by 1.1%. Some private enterprises even expect to turn Vietnam into a regional digital hub.
What are the basic factors that the regulatory sandbox mechanism or framework that is being developed by the State Bank of Vietnam need in order to boost the development of the fintech ecosystem?
The regulation is still being drafted and waiting for approval. The basic factors that the sandbox framework needs, there are two factors. Number one is what is the need for, what is the key areas of focus for a sandbox framework, and number two, when it will be released. Because if we are waiting for the sandbox framework to be too long, then the opportunities may be going away, because in the technology world, no one will imagine that what will be waiting for us in the future. Like 10 years ago, no one knew that Uber or Airbnb can play such a crucial part in our life, or Facebook. The sandbox, it can help the fintech companies to have more confidence in what they are doing. If everyone recognize the values and also the impact of those services in the future, it may be moved from the sandbox into the real application of the wide landscape. So I think if we can have the regulatory sandbox framework issued this year, it will help a lot in promoting the development of the fintech ecosystem in Vietnam.
What are your comments on the current situation of the human resources for fintech in Vietnam, and what can be improved?
I'm very proud of the Vietnamese fintech startups and the founders. I think that they're very brilliant, they're bright, they're very hardworking. However, I think that we need more people like that. And for those startups who they are very energetic, they want to learn and they want to create new things for the world, they need to be equipped with corporate governance and also financial management knowledge. For local universities, I see that, for example, National Economic University has started a program, a bachelor program on FinTech. For those who graduate from overseas and come back to Vietnam to work, I think that they are lucky because they benefit a lot from the overseas education and it is more up to date. So resources in tech is always lacking, and not only in Vietnam but in other countries. So the focus on building the curriculum for educational institution in Vietnam, as well as how to attract more undergraduates that's studying overseas to come back to Vietnam to work is another thing that we can consider. Most of the undergrads, when they come to Vietnam, and when I have a chance to talk to them, they always ask the question, Chị Dương, is that safe to be here, and whether my money will be protected? So I tell them that, you know, this is a very transparent and competitive environment.
What do you think about the ability to access capital of fintech firms in Vietnam?
I think that some of the fintech companies in Vietnam are lucky because they are at route B, C of raising their capitals, but some are still struggling. The reason for that is because the size and the scale in Vietnam is still small compared to other unicorns in the region. And number two is most of the foreign investors, they look for use cases in Vietnam and also how to scale up. So people always say that this is a country of 90 million people, but if the scalability is still very limited, and if the use case of that fintech companies is not strong, of course they cannot raise capital. And raising capital is one thing, but how to use that capital in order to build up the customer database is another thing. People always say, oh, that company is burning money and they will die soon. Sometimes some of the startup founders tell me, raising the money, now we start to feel the burden. So I think that the access of the fintechs in Vietnam are still limited because of the size and the scale, but also it is the capabilities and the capacity of those companies given to other neighbor countries. For example, like Singapore or Malaysia, they are very good at English. A lot of people enjoy from very good education. Compared to the region, I think that we are still behind. So in order to help those companies raise funds, the role and responsibility of the regulator, as well as other accelerator and incubator in Vietnam is also important.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Nguyễn Thị Dương, for your very informative talk today.
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure.
With the government's objective of reducing the use of cash to below 10% of all payment methods by 2020, a fintech ecosystem is inevitable. The potential of fintech in Vietnam is quite huge. Currently, 3 essential factors of a fintech ecosystem, namely market entry, access to capital, and legal support, have taken shape in Vietnam. However, these factors still need enhancing. Hopefully, more positive changes in Vietnam's finance banking sector will be witnessed thanks to the development of fintech in the coming time. And that has also wrapped up this edition of BizLine. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can log on to our website at vtv4.vtv.vn or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/vtv4go. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.